Alright, for lesson 1-8, we're going to be discussing solving equations with multiplying and dividing, which is very similar to what we did in the last lesson, with the exception that we're going to be multiplying and dividing this time instead of adding and subtracting. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next slide. Alright, let's take a look at our first slide here. Now, to solve these, we're going to be doing the same thing that we did for the addition and subtraction. We're going to use our balance beam. Okay, now remember, for the balance beam, what we need to do is we need to draw a straight line wherever our equal sign is at. Okay, now we need to take a look at whatever number is touching our variable, which in this case is 6x. Now remember, anytime you have a variable stuck to the number, that means we have to multiply. Okay, so we need to undo the multiplication. This question right here is saying 6 times what equals 48. Okay, so we need to, in order to eliminate this, to cancel it, we have to divide by 6. Okay, so we have to do the opposite. Okay, so those 6's are going to cancel each other out, which leaves me with x equals, well, we're going to have 48 divided by 6 over here. Well, we know that 48 divided by 6 is 8. So my answer is going to be 8. And we can go back and check that if you want. You could actually do 6 times 8 to see if that equals 48, which it does, so that we know that that is correct. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, this one is very similar to the last one, with the exception that now we have a negative in front of my number with the variable attached to it. Now, that doesn't make it any more difficult. That just means that our answer is going to be different. We're going to have to remember our integer rules. Well, so we're going to use our balance beam again. Then we're going to have to get rid of this negative 9. Well, to get rid of that negative 9, I have to divide by negative 9 on both sides of my equal sign. Okay, my 9's are going to cancel each other out here, which leaves me with y equals, now I'm going to have, oh, I forgot my negative there. I don't want to do that. 45 divided by negative 9. Well, I know that that's going to go in there 5 times. Then I need to look at this and say, well, are my signs the same or are they different? Well, they're different because I have one negative sign here, no negative sign here, so therefore my answer has to be negative. So my y is going to be negative 5. And again, you can check this if you want. If you want to substitute this 5 back in for your y up there, you could say negative 9 times negative 5. Well, negative 5 times negative 5, or excuse me, negative 9 times negative 5 is positive 45. Because remember, since the signs are the same, my answer has to be positive. All right, let's take a look at our next one. All right, this one right here, if you notice, we have a fraction bar right here. Now, remember, our fraction bar means divide. Okay, so again, the first thing I'm going to do is draw up my balance beam here. And I have to eliminate my division right here. Well, to eliminate my division, I'm going to have to do the opposite, which is multiply. So I'm going to have to multiply both sides times negative 4. So my 4's cancel, which leaves me with b equals, okay, now I'm going to have to multiply 5 times negative 4. Well, 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. And again, we can substitute this value back into my variable up here and check that. So I could put negative 20 over negative 4 and see if that equals positive 5. Well, this means negative 20 divided by negative 4, which does equal positive 5. So that one checks out. That's correct. Okay? And again, this is our check over here. Don't be afraid to do that if you think that you might have the question wrong. All right, let's take a look at our next example, which again, the division problem. I'm going to start with my balance beam, same as always. Wherever your equal sign is, draw your line down, draw your bar across. Now we can eliminate work on getting rid of this negative 3. Well, how are we going to get rid of that negative 3? We have to do the opposite of divided by negative 3, which is going to be times negative 3. I have to do that on both sides of my bar here. So my 3's are going to cancel, which leaves me with C equals 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Again, my signs are different, therefore my answer has to be negative, which 5 times 3 is 15, so it has to be negative 15. Simple. Okay? All right, let's take a look at our next one. All right, this one is a little bit different than any others you've done so far because we have multiple steps involved. This one has several things that we're going to have to do. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is draw my balance beam, same as always. Okay, now whenever we're solving these equations that have multiple steps, like on this one, it says 3 times x, says 3 times x plus 2. Well, in order for us to figure out the answer for this one, we have to first eliminate that plus 2. Okay, we're going to have to eliminate this plus 2. We have to get rid of all the numbers that are not touching the variable first. So we have the opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. Again, we have to do that on both sides. So these 2's are going to cancel each other out, go away, which is going to leave me with 3x, which is 3 times something, equals, well, 14 minus 2 is 12. Okay, which you guys can probably already recognize the answer to this, but again, I'm going to continue working. I'm going to do another balance beam. Now I have to get rid of this 3 right here by dividing. Okay, and I'm going to show that with the fraction bar. It's the first time I showed it to you that way, but remember it means the same thing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Well, my 3's cancel each other out, which leaves me with x equals 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I know the x is 4. Now, again, we can check that if you want. So if I draw my check right over here, substitute this value in for my x, I'm going to have 3 times 4 plus 2 equals 14. Well, let's see. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2. Well, 12 plus 2 is 14. So that checks out. We know that that's correct, and we got it right. All right. And I believe that is all that I have for you. Yep. Work these out step by step. It's not terribly difficult, but remember, use your balance beam to keep everything straight.